Hey, fellow Ristopians, welcome to Ristopia. Yeah, I haven't done a video in a while, so I thought I better do one. I've got a few ideas for some that I've just not gotten around to doing. Some of also maybe some non-watch content. I've got some pretty cool Bluetooth speakers recently, which I love. I did actually do a video on them, but yeah, didn't upload it. But need to make a bit more of an effort, and that's one of the reasons I haven't really done anything, because the ideas that I've got, I need to put some more effort into. Other than so, I've not done it. I've even got a watch. Let's do a quick pits maneuver. I've got a new Casio. I can't remember what the model number is. But yeah, it didn't even do an unboxing. I just unboxed it and put it on my wrist. So that's how much I'm slacking. But I did want to do, very pleased with this, by the way, but I will do a video about it at some point. I did want to do a video about the subjects I'm about to mention. It's been something I've noticed before, and there was a watch that's been released. I won't say who released it or what manufacturer it is, because they're a pretty, high-end YouTuber and collaboration, and it's a pretty high up there chronograph manufacturing brand. So I don't really want to be bad mouthing them, but it's got me to check a few things out. Now, what this is about, as the title of the video may have given away, is when you get a watch, it has second markers between the 5-minute markers, and sometimes they will have what I've always called sub-second markers. Now, you could potentially call them sub-minute markers, because it sort of depends which hand you're looking at in relation to them, whether it's a part of a second or part of a minute. Generally speaking, although saying that, the second hand is the one that reaches them and the minute hand often doesn't. Sometimes it does. On the watch that in question, that I won't mention, it actually does really well on both of them. It's got a very fine tip that the minute and the second hand reaches them. So yeah, I think the jury's out on it, but it'll make a bit more sense in a minute, hopefully. Now, I've always felt that the beat rate of the watch, so how many times it ticks per second, should match the number of sections in the sub-second, I'm going to call them sub-seconds from now on. But let me know in the comments below, are they parts of a second or parts of a minute? I've always thought they're parts of a minute. Sorry, start again. I've always thought they're parts of a second, and they're there mainly for a chronograph, where you will time things to, a quarter of a second or a fifth of a second, or whatever. I don't think they need to be on three-handed watches. I don't really like them on three-handed watches. I think they're just too fussy. There are exceptions to that, which I'll come on to in a minute. But yeah, so generally I feel that the sub-second markers should correspond to... My video just stopped. No, it's still going. Should correspond to the beat rate of the watch, and I'll explain what I mean by that. So I've checked. These are the ones I have. That's an honorary mention there, and I'll tell you what that is, isn't it? Doing there in a minute. So these are the 5 watches that I have that have sub-second markers on. So we got 1, 2, 3 chronographs and 2, well, a GMT, but effectively a free, four-hand, I suppose it is, but it's not a chronograph, and a freehand. Now, I've done I've checked them all, and do they correspond? So, start with the Tissot Gentleman. I'm just going to rattle through this. I hope you can understand my maths. I'm not going to make it overly complicated or over-explain. But the Tissot Gentleman, it has thirds. So it has 3 sections. So it has 2 hash marks between the second hash marks. It has 2 sub-second hash marks. So if you cut something in, you've got like a sausage, and you cut it twice, you've got 3 sections. If you cut it 3 times, you've got 4 sections. Hope that makes sense. So you've got 1 more section than you have with the hash marks. This has 3 sections, and it ticks at 6 beats per second. I'm not going to I know that 8 beats per second is 28,800, but this ticks at 6 beats per second. So basically, that works. So you've got 3, 3/3, and 6. The 6 you can divide by 3. So it will hit each one of those hash marks, and then also the space in between hash marks. I hope that makes sense, but I don't want to over-explain this. Seiko Speed Timer. Now this is actually a quartz watch, solar powered quartz watch, but it has a Mecha Quartz stopwatch function. So the seconds are ticking there 1 per second, but the stopwatch is Mecha Quartz, so it's kind of it's sweeping. Now, even though it's quartz, this has fifth of a set. There's 5 sections basically, and it ticks 5 times per second. So it hits each one once. So again, tick, that works. The hash marks correspond to the beat rate of the seconds hand. Tudor, these aren't in the right order. Tudor Black Bay chronograph. This actually has a Breitling B01 movement in, as a lot of you will probably know, slightly modified, improved. This ticks, where are we going? This has they're divided into quarters, so there's 4 sections per second, and it beats 28,800, which is 8 ticks per second, which works. So 8 divided by 4 works. Moon swatch. So, and again, another quartz. This isn't a Mecha Quartz, so it actually just ticks once per second. So therefore, it's kind of irrelevant having the sub-second markers. But the sub-second, I'm going to let this off. I'm going to give this a tick because it doesn't go against the sub-second markers. It's not awkward with them, which the next one is going to be. And I think, as we all know, this is been made by Swatch in collaboration with Amiga to, look like a moon swatch. Moon watch, rather. To look like it is a moon swatch. It's meant to look like a moon watch. So I guess those parts of second hash marks are there for that reason. So I'm going to give this a pass. I'm going to say that's not awkward. It's not messing with my OCD. But what is messing with my OCD, which is a bit of a shame, the only one that I've got that doesn't, what I would call, make sense, is the Longines Zulu time. Now this actually, so this has the sub-second markers are divided, the seconds are divided into 5, but it actually ticks at 7 beats per second. So there's really no way that could work. And this is the reason, this is often compared, so the Zulu time GMT is often compared to the Tudor Black Bay GMT, which does beat at 28,800, so it ticks 8 times per second. I'd forgotten that this ticked slower. It doesn't tick slow, it ticks less per second. It's less sweepy. So yeah, when people compare them, they don't. Did they mention that? They probably do. Lovely watch though. So yeah, that's never going to work because you can't divide 7 by 5 because you've got fifths, so 5. All they could have really done was to have had divided the second markers into 7 pieces, but that would have looked really weird. It's just not much space to get 7 in. 4s, getting 4 in between is enough. I hope my maths is keeping up, is making sense. In fact, what they've done here is that they're not very prominent either. So it's like a subliminal. Their sub-second markers there. Now, normally, as with the Tissot Gentleman, I don't like sub-second markers. They're too fussy. I'd rather the Gentleman didn't have them. But I think this is the exception to the rule for me, because I think that the sub-second markers actually go with the kind of style, the almost, what's it called? Not Nouveau Cuisine, Art Deco. The Art Deco-ness, I'm getting a bit of glare on it. The Art Deco style of this watch, that period style. So I forgive it, the sub-second markers. And I kind of, even though it's a no, push it up a bit. Even though it's a no, it doesn't correlate. It's awkward. You know, there's nothing they could have done with a movement that ticks 7 times per second, really. So it is what it is, and they've kept them nice and short, so you don't really see them. So yeah, I kind of forgive that one. So that's where we've got all of mine, apart from that one. But mostly, I think, and this is a question, let me know in the comments below. Do you think that the B rate of the watch should correspond to the sub-second markers if a watch has them? And the other question I previously asked already was, you know, are they parts of a second or are they parts of a minute? Is there ever a situation where they're actually there to show you the parts of a minute? I just can't see that being a thing, but I've never heard of it before. But people don't really talk about the sub-second markers anyway. And what else have we got here? We've got the honorary mention. This doesn't, the planet Omega Planet Ocean, let's get it the right way up. This doesn't have sub-second markers. But what it does have, it has a quite unique, the design, I don't think you can see that, I'm sort of trying not to get any glare. It has the second markers in between the 5-minute markers, the batons, they're actually joined together at the top, and I think that's a really nice design. So as I was sort of looking through to find watches that had sub-second markers, I remembered how much I like the second markers on here, and I thought I'd give that an honorary mention, and it is my singly most favourite watch, so it gets another mention for that as well. I think that's about it, really. I just wanted to cover that off. I don't think it's something that's ever been talked about before. I've never heard anyone really mention the beat rate matching the hash marks around the chapter ring. So yeah, if you've made it to the end, let me know in the comments below. Does it bother you? Does your OCD go up? Do you get a bit OCD if it doesn't match up? I know they're not going to like hit. You know, if you you know, videoed it in the same way the second hand doesn't hit perfectly on a quartz. You know, they're not going to hit it, but they are in sync with it. Whereas this is all over the place because it's ticking 7 times and it's only got 5 points to hit. So it's just all over the place. I do know as well as the watch that I've mentioned that I won't name. I do know there has been an Omega Speedmaster, a genuine Omega Speedmaster moonwatch, historically, that they didn't match up. That's how I kind of got onto the whole thing, and is why I've kind of checked. And I think they've rectified that now. I think the current model, the beat rate of the second hand does match the hash marks around the chapter ring. Hope that all made some sense. Hope it was vaguely interesting. It does bother me. I think it's. I think with the Zulu time, there's nothing they could do realistically. Like I've said, I think if you have a watch with that beats 8 times per second, and you've got the sub-seconds divided into 5, but why would you do that? That make just divide them into 4, and then it works. So why would you divide them into 5 when it is clearly? It's going to be very easy to do it properly. So I can't work out why this manufacturer has done it that way. It just doesn't make sense to me. It was completely unnecessary. The only thing I can think of why it might happen sometimes is if the movement and the dial are not decided upon in the early stages, you could kind of end up, you know, with a dial and movement and then put them together and then realise that it doesn't match up. But I just think it's just really poor design. I think that it's just really poor. Just give it quarter. If it's got 8 beats per second, give it divide the sub-seconds into 4, and then it kind of works. But anyway, where are we going? 15 minutes. That's quite short for me. I'm going to upload this. Hope you're all well wherever you are, and I'll see you again in another video soon, hopefully.